was great to see the 49ers play the kind of football that they want to play, that they have to play, with Jimmy Garoppolo as this team's quarterback. You know, somebody says, are you a little concerned that the 49ers offense has scored only 16 points in the entire second half in 4 games? Yeah. It'll probably be why the train doesn't end where you want it to end when it's all said and done. And, you know, Damon, you're being too critical of Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm telling you, he had a good game. But his biggest throw of the night was a hold your breath. There are a couple hold your breaths always baked into what Jimmy does. But it's real simple. If the 49ers don't have a quarterback turning the ball over, rendering himself ineffective in the passing game, if the Niners don't have to deal with quarterbacking mistakes, they're a double-digit win football team thanks to that defense. All they have to do is be average. And if the defense keeps this up, Ray, even a little below average offense is still going to be enough to carry the day to the playoffs.
Well, that and the fact that I don't see a team in the NFC that's going to run away with this. I would say right now, and I'm trying not to let last night suddenly guide my judgment, but there's no team in the NFC West that looks like they're 2-2. I mean, they all have significant flaws that can be exposed at any time. They all look beatable. So there's nothing special about that division. The only team that is unbeaten is Philadelphia. And I don't know that anybody believes that that's the best team in the conference. It's just that there may not be a best team in the conference. So, you know, you get this defense and a middle-of-the-road offense, which is sort of what this is right now. You get a playoff team. And after that, it's all in the arguing.
888-957-9570. RJ giving us a call from the highway of 92. What's going on, RJ? How are you?
Yeah, good. Hey, I'm not going to argue with you about Jimmy. I don't know whether he meant to do that or not, but I will point out, though, he made a heck of a throw to Kittle in the back of the end zone. But the reason I called is I want to point out the block that Ayuk made at the end of that run that Debo made. Nobody's talking about that. He made a hell of a block. Don't know if you remember that.
I mean, he was out there. Everyone started blocking downfield. The Niners' big pop plays always come with a wide receiver making a block downfield. I did see Ayuk out there, but man, I was so trained on Debo that I didn't think that Ayuk's block was responsible for Debo was going to the house with that one. There was just he gets a few this is what Larry Krueger said with us when he stopped on by, did a little pregame. If he has 3 strides on a defender, that defender's in trouble. There might not be any one player at either a linebacker position or in the secondary who can tackle Debo Samuel all by himself if Debo's got a full head of steam. I don't think it can happen.
Well, it's not the 3-stride lead that gets you. It's the fact that he can get to 3 strides quickly. I mean, he doesn't have to beat a guy by 3 steps. He can beat a guy by 1, and it becomes 3 immediately.
Full speed Debo Samuel.
Well, but what I'm saying is that's how he became the running threat that he was last year, that he gets to top speed quicker than most guys. It's why he can hit a hole faster. It's why he creates that space faster. But, I mean, most guys, if you give him 3 steps, no defensive player is going to catch him. It's just that Samuel's gift is that he gets to 3 steps quicker than most. And that's what makes him the player that he is. And that's why he got paid the way he did.
If Debo Samuel had a quarterback who consistently hit him in stride for years here, if Matthew Stafford has Debo Samuel and he's throwing to Debo Samuel and hitting him in stride the way that he hits Cooper Kupp in stride, Debo Samuel has already completely shattered the NFL regular season receiving record. In terms of yardage, he's north of 2,300 yards, 2,500 yards. I mean, the guy is a running back disguising his career as a wide receiver. It's something else. And last night, the very best of Debo was on display. Burst in physicality, says the Comcast Business text line. Yeah, 2 words that sum him up pretty darn well. Special player, man. Special player. And last night, he was able to carry the 49ers to a victory. That defense was fantastic. Talanoa Hufanga. This game really boiled down to 3 big scoring plays, and the defense was responsible for one of them.
Another 100 yards against the 49ers again for Cooper Kupp. This one is juggled, picked. There goes Hufanga. Touchdown, San Francisco. Pick 6.
Joe Buck, ESPN. Look, when Hufanga starts breaking towards the line of scrimmage, when he starts breaking on a ball, when he starts a play out of a camera shot, then comes streaking into a camera shot, right now it's among the most exciting things happening in the NFL. That's who he's become. He has become as exciting a player to watch as there is in football. It started with, he might be special. And he has already graduated to he might be a Pro Bowler. And if he consistently becomes a Pro Bowler, then he gets to graduate to he might be a Hall of Famer. Little early to start talking like that. It's a lot early to start talking like that. But my Lord, instincts, got him. Talent, got it. Tackle, got it. Ball skills, got them too.
And it didn't hurt that he knew where the ball was going because the ball was always going there. I mean, Matthew Stafford made that interception happen in large part because he was throwing to Cooper Kupp for the 20th time. Yeah, I mean, how many times do you have to keep going to the same guy before a competent defense says, we know where he's going with this?
I thought Hufanga, more than anything else, read Higbee on the play, who was looking to make the screen for Cooper to come underneath, and that's when he jumped the route. I mean, however he read it, whatever his key was, I'm giving that whole play a chef's kiss for a very young player in this league who is figuring it out quickly. He's the number 1 rated safety in football right now.
Might very well be Defensive Rookie of the Year, at least the leader right now.
Except last year was his rookie year.
Oh, that's right. I hate this.
Oh, but you're so good at it.
Who says who?
Gene is in Oakland. Gene, you're on 95.7 The Game. What's going on?
Hey, fellas. Yeah, I was reading this article by Dan Patrick this morning where he was saying there's no reason in his mind why the Niners can't go to the Super Bowl this year. And I've been suspecting that for a while. And I, like he was, just waiting to see if this truly was an elite defense. I think we proved that last night. I mean, by my count, there have been, maybe 7 or 8 quarterbacks that have had, maybe slightly better than average careers. Guys like Jim McMahon and Hostetler, Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, and I'd say most recently Matthew Stafford last year. But that had elite defenses around them that were able to carry them to the Super Bowl and win. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do it this year. This San Francisco defense, I think, maybe the best we've had, maybe since back in the 90s. All right, the Montana years, because we haven't had the balance, we haven't had the depth that we have this year. So I just wonder what you guys think. I don't see any reason why we can't go all the way, at least looking at it at this point.
Well, Gene, I honestly, look, and I'm not trying to spoil the excitement on a Tuesday morning or afternoon after a Monday night win. But I do see the one reason why they might not be able to, and it's because your quarterback, when asked to put up more than 21 points, we don't know if that can happen. We don't know if that can happen in a big game in the postseason, because it hasn't happened when it needed to happen. Now, Phil Mickelson couldn't win a major until he did. So I'm not saying it's impossible. But Kyle Shanahan was so convinced it couldn't happen, he set in motion a line of dominoes to never have to deal with Jimmy Garoppolo ever again. Yet, here we still are. So, it's not what I believe. It's not what I believe. Forget me telling you what Jimmy may or may not be. Like somebody here from the 510 says, lots of if, ands, or buts from you today, Damon. They won. Stop looking for problems. It's Sports Talk Radio! Looking for problems is kind of what we do. And when things are really, really good and there's no problems, believe me, we'll let you know. For example, the Golden State Warriors are healthy again equals no problems. James Wiseman might not be playing, but it doesn't matter, so no problems. Jonathan Kuminga's not getting the minutes I want him to. It doesn't matter, no problems. We'll tell you when there are no problems. And we'll also tell you when there are. But forget about us. Forget about what Ray thinks. Forget about what I think. In Shanahan, you must trust if you are a 49ers fan. Kyle Shanahan does not trust his quarterback. Quarterback played well last night. Quarterback played about as good as he could night. That is peak Garoppolo. What you saw last night is the sizzling version of Jimmy that I'm telling you, as long as you get that, you guarantee. What do we got? We're 4 games in to 7. You give me 13 more weeks of that. Yeah, you probably win the NFC West, which means you get a bye, which means you got a better shot of going to the Super Bowl than if you didn't have that. So yeah, it all could happen. But the first one out on Garoppolo wasn't a caller, wasn't a host, it was his own head coach and GM. You know, Damon, what about that loser Trey Lance, someone else says. You better get to wherever you go to worship, and you better light as many candles and pray to as many gods as you have, the old and the new, that guy's not a loser, because there's no amount of Jimmy getting it done this year, but for hoisting a Lombardi trophy, that brings back Jimmy next year. That's kind of where we are. So don't go rewriting the entire what you think is about to happen based off of one Monday Night Football game. Don't. Because what will happen, that is a sequence of events that has already been set in motion. And oh, by the way, welcome to your 4 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free. You got to realize that last night was good 49ers. There will be more games where they're not as good. This is going to be a roller coaster because they are like a lot of better than average teams in this conference. They have flaws. One of them is you can't bank on consistency. That's not going to be part of what they do because it's not part of what Tampa does. It's not.
There's one consistency you can apparently bank on. 49ers beat the Rams in the regular season.
Okay, well, they have one more crack at them.
Yeah.
So, but then you've got those troublesome 12 other games.
Yeah, right. But I do think we got a little, there's a tendency here. You protect the ball in a rivalry that you have a physical edge in and apparently a coaching edge in. What we saw probably should happen again against the Rams. I'm going to believe that can happen against the Rams until I stop seeing it. Although I said the Rams are probably going to win in the pregame show last night. And I'm going to tell you, as soon as Robbie Gould missed that second field goal attempt, and it was still an 8-point game, I thought the Rams probably still going to win this game. I really did. Because that offense, boys and girls, as happy as you are with Jimmy today, this is an offense that scored 17 points last night, which is only one more point than they're averaging. This offense entered the game averaging 16 points per game. And if that doesn't improve, let me tell you where the train ends. Probably not hoisting a Lombardi trophy. Unless they're really going to be nothing but single-digit shutout level performances the rest of the way. If you're really the early 2000 Baltimore Ravens, if you're really the 1985 Chicago Bears, then yes, indeed, I have great news, everyone. They're going to be the champions if they have one of the three best defenses the sport has ever seen at any level of competition the sport has ever played under. So yes, if they have like one of those defenses that when we're very old men, Ray, we're sitting on a...
I
didn't even mean to go there. But if we're talking about how 8 of these guys went to Canton one day, then yeah, they're going to win the Super Bowl. You don't even need a quarterback. We could have Grandy do it and things will be fine.
Well, let's not lose all perspective. Grandy's got flaws too.
Thanks, Ray.
For one, he's a raging alcoholic.
Why would you even bring up Shanahan trying to get rid of Jimmy after a nice win? Because that is the reality. That's the reality. And that is going to be a pulse under this entire year at all times. It's just the world we all now live in. That's it. You're going to have to stop being a total wuss if you're a Niner fan. That's the only way you're going to get through the year. It's the only way you're going to be able to sit in this audience every single afternoon. You're going to have to start being a total wuss about the reality of the Niners. The only reason why you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback is one broken ankle. That's it. There isn't a single merit that this team thinks Jimmy has that kept him their starting quarterback. And if you think that Trey Lance is going to be out of the league by 2023, then my God, your general manager just blew so much future capital on a player who sucks that you got problems beyond Shanahan the coach. That's Shanahan the GM. So everyone seriously needs to start shaving with a razor and act like a frickin' grown-up. I'm tired of all this little fanboy Jimmy nonsense. We know who he is. We know who Jimmy Garoppolo is. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to look really, really good one week. He's going to have you swearing in languages you didn't even think you could speak the next. It's who he is. Think everyone's got it, Ray?
No.
Or are we going to have to constantly re-explain where true north is on the compass at all times?
No, it's really simple. It's a binary state. You have one coach, you have one quarterback. You don't have options on either of those. And that's it. I mean, there literally is no point in bringing up Trey Lance until the season's over, because he's not playing until then. In the season, the future doesn't exist. After the season, there's nothing but future. But for right now, there's 13 more dances. It's all you get. Maybe you get extra if you're good. But that's it. But Trey Lance doesn't matter right now.
No.
And what Jimmy Garoppolo's view of Kyle Shanahan is doesn't matter. And what Kyle Shanahan's view of Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't matter. They're married. Period. That's it.
Well, that means the Niners are not just married to the best of Jimmy.
They're married
but
to
the
all
least
of it.
Jimmy.
And vice versa.
Right.
They're also married to the best and worst of Kyle Shanahan. You know, they're human beings who are good at what they do, but they've got flaws in what they do.
Look,
nobody's brilliant. Nobody's an idiot. It's a week-to-week business.
In games where he absolutely stinks, I'll be one of the few who remind you, well, he's actually a little bit better than that. And in games where he plays great, we need to remind you, don't come to expect that week in, week out. You shouldn't. You just shouldn't do it.
You don't worry about week to week. You worry about what tomorrow is. And tomorrow comes on Sunday. Don't think about 2 weeks from now. Don't think about 5 weeks from now. That's literally, the 49ers are day to day. Like every other team in football until you suddenly realize they're either stink or they're great.
Yeah, somebody asked me before the show started, do you think this is the best 49er defense of all time? Let's get to the end of the year and I'll let you know. Because you are 3 players who I don't even want to say their name. I don't even want to speak this into existence, but you're 3 injuries away from just being a defense. So Who knows where this ends? But with Jimmy driving the bus, I'd be shocked if it ended with a Super Bowl championship, and so would you, and so would the head coach, and so would all of us. Quit pretending. Everyone today saying, Jimmy, 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 I love Jimmy, I love Jimmy. You were mother effing him so loud last week that you even forgot about it. A lot of you are prisoners of the moment. This is why I'm here, to be your sports daddy. You're welcome.
And there are a lot of people appealing for adoption right now.
Akil in Dublin. You're on 95.7 The Game. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. Hey, I got to agree with you, man. We got to celebrate the win, but at the same time, there's concerns that we have to acknowledge. And for me, one of the concerns is, looking back at the Broncos game, the Rams, their secondary, they have Jalen Ramsey, who's probably the best corner in the league, but the rest of their secondary is not that good. You compare that with the Broncos, who have an all-around good secondary, and my concern is, can the receivers, besides Debo, can they win their one-on-one matchups when they need to? Because the way Shanahan's system is, it's about scheming guys wide open. It's not about a lineup across the corner and try to beat them. So that's something that I've just noticed this past year and the past 2 years. Our receivers at times can't win one-on-one matchups, and obviously we got Jimmy Garoppolo, who's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo no matter what we say. Is this something I want to hear your thoughts on? I mean, can the receivers win one-on-one matchups when it matters?
I mean, I think Ayu can. I think that Debo can. Hopefully the rookie Danny Gray can, just based on foot speed, but we haven't seen him yet, so we don't know. I think Juwan Jennings can in certain situations. I don't know about Ray McCloud. And I got to be honest, George Kittle's fallen off a little, or just still isn't all the way healthy. And there was a time in that game last night where he wanted to run back out on the field, and they brought him back in. They said, no, George, you're not going back out there. So I don't know if they got to save him from himself, or they're worried about him further aggravating the injuries that have plagued really his career. But George Kittle is, without a doubt, the greatest paid blocking tight end in the history of football. I want to see him run more routes. I want to see him targeted more. He's very much an afterthought, at least in the passing attack. Now, maybe just due to injuries along the offensive line last night, not only did you lose Colton McKivitz, but we know Trent Williams isn't there, so they're keeping George in to offer extra protection. But, man, when you pay a tight end like that, you think you're going to want to get some catches and touchdowns out of him. He's very much an afterthought in this passing offense.
Yeah, but nothing operates in a vacuum. And if he's a competent blocker at a time when your best blocker and arguably your second best blocker are out, something has to give. You can't do both things at once. And you can't expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be efficient Jimmy Garoppolo if there's no protection. So the point is you cannot do both things with him. You got to pick and choose what you can do.
Somebody says our offensive line needs the most help. Jimmy's got no time to throw. He didn't get sacked last night. Jimmy had plenty of time last night. He got the ball out really, really early. The thing is, the only thing that Kyle trusts him to throw are slants, screen passes, and other passes that really don't even travel 2-3 yards downfield. He is not throwing north and south. He throws a lot of east and west.